Good evening, everyone. We're going to call this meeting to order. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for our statement of values? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As we gather, we humbly seek blessings upon this meeting. May we act with strength, courage, and will to perform our obligations and duties to our people with justice to all. Let us seek wisdom so that we may act in the best interests of our people, our neighbors, and our country. All this we ask so we may serve our community with fairness and respect, putting their needs before all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Roll call, City Clerk.
Yes, Councilmember Caserta. Here. Davis. Here. Kolstad. Here. Mahan. Here. O'Neill.
Here.
Watanabe. Here. Mayor Gilmore.
Here.
And we have 3 announcements. The first is the AB 23 announcement that members of the Santa Clara Stadium Authority, Sports and Open Space Authority, and Housing Authority are entitled to receive $30 for each attended meeting. The second is our statement of behavioral standards. The City of Santa Clara has adopted a code of ethics and values and behavioral standards for public meetings to promote and maintain the highest levels of conduct. This includes mutual respect, robust discussion, and allowing city business to be done in an efficient and consistent manner. Please note that, as the presiding officer, the mayor's direction in matters of process and decorum should be followed. Welcome, and thank you for your participation.
Thank you very much. Next, we have approval of minutes from June 13th.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion second. Lights on the motion. And that passes unanimously. And then a special meeting of June 26th.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion second. Lights on the motion, and that passes with 1 abstention. You have that, City Clerk? Okay. All right, continuances, exceptions. I don't see any, and I know I've had at least 3 or 4 requests for movement on the agenda, but when we deferred the minimum wage item last week, I said that we would have it as the first item on the agenda. So we're going to try to move through things as quickly and as efficiently as possible, but making sure that we hear everyone's ideas and requests and opinions on everything. So with no continuances or exceptions, we'll start with our special order of business, and that's an appointment of 1 applicant to fill the vacancy on the Senior Advisory Commission for the full term ending June 30th, 2021. And we had so many wonderful applicants for that commission, and it was very difficult to reach a decision, but I believe we have a decision. Councilmember Davis.
I'd like to thank all of the applicants for this position. We had quite a few, and it was a very hard choice, but we came to the consensus of Carolyn Siegert to fill that position, and all applicants, please keep your eye on commissions. Please apply. We really appreciate a lot of the responses that you gave us for the answers, and we see that the pay it forward seemed to be the theme and giving back to your community, and we thank you all.
So is that a motion to appoint Ms. Seeger to the commission for the full term ending June 30th, 2021? Is there a second? Second. Motion second. Lights on the motion. And that passes unanimously. So congratulations to Ms. Seeger, and thank you to all those very, very qualified applicants who applied. We appreciate and keep up your volunteer work with the city. It's so helpful. I wish we had 20 commission positions opening on each commission because we really need the help. But thank you all for applying. Next, we have the Santa Clara Women's League presentation of a donation in the amount of $15,000, acceptance of the donation, and authorization to appropriate the funds to help support the health and wellness program at the Santa Clara Senior Center, and to transmit a letter of appreciation signed by the mayor and city manager. I see a big check there. Yes, yay. All right, welcome.
Hi, I'm Judy Hubbard, the president of the Santa Clara Women's League, and we're here to present you the City of Santa Clara $15,000. It's from the Santa Clara Women's League for the Health and Wellness Program. We also want to thank you for the mayor and the council members for help this year in Showtime. We hope that there's more to come and that everybody else would help again in the future. And we've been around for 33 years, and hopefully we'll be around more and we can help out more.
Thank you. It was really fun being in Showtime. It was really fun. We caught the bug, so we're all coming back again.
Good.
And thank you for persuading us to come back again. So this is wonderful. Maybe we can get the senior commissioners that are here up. Do we have a photographer here? Yes, very good. Oh, and if the council, we can meet down there and we can have our picture with you and that wonderful big check.
Oh, they're already there. Thank you.
Kids at least a couple of times a week.
Three names? Staff. No, I have the name. I mean, should I mention or just let it go? Mallory Van
She's downstairs.
Kugeljen, Wendy Talbert,
That's Wendy's.
and Larissa Polozova? No, but should I even mention or not?
Yes,
Let it
those
be.
are the nurses in the,
What about the third one? Is she here?
she's downstairs. Yeah.
Okay.
They promised no speaking parts. I know.
May I mention three
Wait, did
staff
anybody get the
names?
check? Did anybody actually get the check?
Yeah.
Okay,
The
good.
clerk got the check.
We weren't going to let you out. Yes, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. On this effort, working with the league, are three staff members: Mallory Van Kugeljen, who's Health and Wellness Coordinator; Wendy Talbert, who's a registered nurse; and also Larissa Polozova.
Oh,
who's also-
thanks to them
so
as
they
well,
work
to
with
the
them, and
staff.
they work on this program as well.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, moving on. Next, we have the presentation by the Cultural Commission on upcoming events for July and August 2017. And I believe Loretta,
Yeah.
as the chair of the commission, welcome.
I just want to introduce myself to everyone as the new chair of the Cultural Commission.
Yay. I think she wants applause.
It's a tough job.
And so I'm here to give you an update of our monthly activities. First, we would invite you, I have to do this. We invite you to follow us on Facebook at the Cultural Commission. You can find us at facebook.com/Cultural Commission. Please like us, contribute photos, give us suggestions. We want to interact with you. We have many programs and events throughout the year. Currently, we've got the concerts in the park. Friday Night Live events are in the winter. We have monthly commemorative series. We are working to partner with other groups, such as the library, sponsor community mixers, and do all sorts of other fun things to help advance culture. You can find much more about it on our Facebook page. We are also inviting people to volunteer to be on various subcommittees. If you know good bands that you want to see at the summer concert series, if you know great cultural events, that's great. Please let us know. We just had a new commissioner, so our current commissioners are Eversley Forte, Kendra Ferrer, Louis Samara, Deborah Von Hune, Neha Mather, Habir Bhatia, and myself. I'm the chair, and Habir Bhatia is the new vice chair. Our staff liaison is Christine Young. For this month, we are commemorating American independence, as is appropriate. Many fun upcoming events. Again, check out Facebook. We have an events page on our Facebook page. We have the concerts in the Park Pavilion this Friday, the Rock and Blues Express. Sunday after, the Leartones in the afternoon. It's a lovely big band dance. August 13 will be Days on the Green. August 18 will be the Hitmen. They'll close out our summer concert series. And of course, we've got the street dance, first Friday in August. We are now going to be trying out our first community mixer with folks up in the north side, because north side needs more mixers. It'll be July 29th at the Northside Library, and we are working with the library on that, so that's one of our partners. Yes, the big thing. Street dance, August 4th, 6 to 9:30. The band starts at 7, but come early, bring a picnic, enjoy the various foodstuffs and restaurants. The House Rockers, they're a great band. The food and drink provided by various vendors, they will all be donating a portion of the proceeds to a nonprofit. We'll have tons of activities for kids, including face painting and other things. And there will be lightsaber performances by the by a Star Wars group and other giveaways. So I encourage you to join us for all our upcoming events. Thank you.
Thank you for giving us our calendar for the next 2 months of what to do. I attended so far 2 of your Friday night events, and the last one was Latin Heat. Latin Heat.
Lots of fun.
It was amazing, and there were so many people there of all ages, sizes, colors, everything. It was wonderful. People had so much fun. I did get complaints though. It ended too early. Yeah, people were really having a great time and loving it. So congratulations.
I'm sorry, but, it's we have to deal with sunset, so it's the whole way the Earth rotates, and
I know that Earth thing. That whole Earth thing.
Yeah, that Earth thing.
Loretta, do something about that, okay?
I'll look into it.
People are really loving your activities, so congratulations to the Cultural Commission. You're doing a phenomenal job. Really great job. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Are there any questions for Loretta? Anyone on the council? Okay, thank you. All right, next we have the consent calendar. All items will be approved with one motion. Okay, and I personally have to abstain on item F2 since my office is within 500 feet of that, so I'll be abstaining on
I have a few to pull. Are we
okay,
pulling first?
one second. Okay, so abstention on the F2. We have a request to pull F1. And a request to pull 14A2. All right, Councilmember Watanabe.
Thank you, Mayor.
Was it 3? Oh, not 2. Okay, I'm sorry. It was 14A3, not A.
14A2.
Oh, I didn't see the second card. Sorry. A2, F3. So I have right now A2, F1, and F3. Councilmember Watanabe?
Mayor, I would like to pull B1 and B3, please.
B as in boy?
Yes.
B1 and B3?
Yes, please.
Okay, Councilmember Davis?
14A4 and 14A7.
Why don't we just hear the whole consent calendar? Okay, anyone else? Anyone else from the audience? Okay, so is there a motion for the balance of the consent calendar? There's a
Second.
motion and a second. Councilmember O'Neill had to briefly step out to make a presentation at the Parks and Recreation Commission, but she will be back. So lights on the motion, and that passes with one absent from the dais. Okay, next we have public presentations. Rod, are there any? No cards? 2 cards for public presentations. Thank you. The first is Stephen Hazel. If you'd like to come forward. Welcome, sir.
Yes, Stephen Hazel. I was here about 3 months ago. I just want to let you know the war's still on. It's been 16 years. It's ridiculous. Just to let you know, like OJ, it has to do with you. Just some knowledge, insight. 612, OJ case, that's all you need to know about that. Omar Mateen last year, 612. Last two victims of the Arizona shootings, 612. That's H.W. Bush. I'm telling you, he is Satan himself. That's all I got to say, okay? Now, 9/11, you know what happened? I got Osama, I located him, plus I knew before Obama. You knew the story about that, but it even gets better. You know what? On 9/4, 1 week before 9/11, I made a phone call to an FBI hotline, okay? They took it as a Chandra leave. I thought it was like a 9/11 Chandra leave. With all this stuff disseminating, you know, they're going to hijack planes. What the heck? So, I called back. I forgot to leave my name. I go, oh, and during the first conversation, I said 666 was going to come up on Friday, and I don't play 0. Just something came in like that. When I called back, I go, here's my name, my phone number, and 666 is going to come up on Saturday, the 8th. And guess what? It came up on the 8th. And I had 100 FBI agents a week later following me everywhere, you know, and the true story. That Sunday, my sister's birthday, on the night before 9/11, I told her, I said, hey, Dave, you're not going back to Seattle. Don't take a plane. And I came, the day before 9/11 was on the 10th. I went over to my mom's house, and there was Alex with the present I gave her of the states. She's holding Pennsylvania, the green piece. When I walked in the door, my niece is holding, 4-year-old, the green piece ready to be placed on the 10th. So what does that say? Can you believe this? And they thought I knew where Chandra Lee. What the heck? They didn't call me back. All they had to do was call me back on the 5th. I would have told them, okay? You know what they did? They followed me through Santa Barbara and everything, all the way back to Cold Circle. I met Lamont Tonelli. They're going, no, put away the numbers. They switched everybody. It's unbelievable. They changed the numbers. Could you believe that? I'm not putting down the FBI, but Gray Davis said, hey, Gary Condit, we could solve a case. You know, you work with my son like that. And what the hell? How about focusing on Cheney and Ken Lay with what was going on with there? Because that's what was going on. And unbelievable, huh? It's a true story. That's why you got to go knowledge, because that phone call happened and the FBI dropped the freaking ball. And where are we at right now? Okay? 9/11 families got half the problem right, the Saudis. The other half, Bush and the Cheneys. Of course they were behind 9/11. In fact, he can't even get past the first plane. In fact, the order, it came too early. He wasn't expecting it. It messed up his order. Then when the second plane happened, he's waiting for the Capitol to be hit. It wasn't the Capitol. He couldn't respond. Of course he knew. And I knew. I located GPS, even the press said, everybody's got GPS. I gave him 3473. Came from me at the Peterson trial. 2004, he was never looking for him till they were forced to in 2011. You know the story about that one. The phone call was made 1 week before.
Thank you, Mr. Hazel.
And they could have stopped 9/11.
Thank you.
True story.
Thank you. All right. Jerry Patrignani, please come forward. I'm not sure I said your last name correctly. I apologize if I said it wrong.
It's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Good
Welcome,
evening
sir.
to all of you. I'm Jerry Patrick Nanny, Vice President of the Santa Clara Lawn Bowls Club, and I'm here to make a request to get a clubhouse. And you may recall my saying this on May 23rd. But the reason I'm here is because I tried to get a pictorial of that from the public records, and I was cut out of it. It doesn't show me there at all. It shows me approaching the desk, and then it stops on one. The other one, it doesn't show me that I was here at all. So I'm here to repeat everything I did, and if I have to keep on repeating it, I'll be here as long as you are too. Not that I want to be. So anyway, back in 2003, the Central Library was built. And our clubhouse at that time was not considered a pleasant sight. So they took it down with a promise to replace it. And actually they had money at that time from what I understood. And this is a guessing game on my part. I don't know for sure. But anyway, the money went someplace, but we didn't get a clubhouse. That was what, 14 years ago. And the club had donated up to $100,000 from what I understood from some of the members that I've talked to for that clubhouse. Of course, it was all donated to the city. But it's gone, and all I'm asking is that the city follow through on their promise that they made at that time And then again, in 2008, another promise was made that within a couple of years, we would have our clubhouse. And we still don't have a clubhouse. And I don't know if there's any direct method to get something like this. I've never encountered with government, so I don't know how you do it. I don't know if you march up and down and wag flags or whatever you do. But I don't see anything happening, so I'm gonna keep on working on this. At that time, architectural drawings were made up to back up the promise that we would get a clubhouse. And just to show you that they started spending money in the right direction, but then something went wrong, and we don't have it. And I hope this gets on the tape this time so I can get a copy of it, so I can have some bragging rights at the club. Thank you very much.
Well, they believe you were here, huh? I thought, well, let's just do it again by consensus. If we can refer this back to staff to come back to us with information back from 2003 and 2008, you know, about money that was donated by the Lawn Bowling Club for the clubhouse, and
No,
were there
that was
drawings?
for the old clubhouse.
The old clubhouse.
But it's gone.
If there's drawings and where they are, what the history is, can we, by consensus, council, refer this to staff?
Yes.
To bring it back to our meeting, our next meeting in August. August 22nd is our next council meeting. Is that okay, city manager?
I have the drawings, but I don't have them with me, but if you request it, I'll see to it that you get it.
Okay, thank you. If you have anything that might help us do a little history search on this project.
The same gal that made up the drawings is still working at the same place, because I talked to her on the telephone.
Okay.
And she said at that time, the Parks and Recreation was very enthusiastic about building a clubhouse.
Well, it might be a very timely issue to look at now that we may be looking at Central Park as a whole, so.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
But I'd like to know where we are.
Thank you. We'll get the history and bring it back to our meeting on August 22nd. Okay? So that's in the record for you. Thank you. Scott Lane, public presentation. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, City Manager, and staff. Scott Lane here. I just want to say thank you, and while you're about to go on your break, maybe it's a good time for reflection. You've adopted certainly a lot of issues, shall we say, over the last many years and decades, whether it's pension issues, et cetera. But I do want to give credit where credit is due, that I think a lot of times you're actually working with the community, with your different commissions and committees, and I think when that happens, it's really great. A perfect example is the public presentation near the front and not at the very end. So thank you, Teresa, specifically, and others as well, for pushing for that. So I appreciate that very much. The other examples are, obviously we've had certain infrastructure improvements. We've had a lot of different things. However, I would hope that with whomever gets picked for the new city manager, that they also ping back with the successes and challenges that Rajiv has had as well, of trying to step into something right in the middle of this, whatever, fifth inning, middle relief or something, to try to find out what lesson learned, that the next city manager can do. I was at all 3 city manager meetings. I was kind of bummed, frankly, that we didn't have a lot more public participation. It's the most important hire of any city of this style. So it's critical. And certainly, I think back of what would happen if we had much more of a public participation. I hate to compare other cities, but I'm going to do it anyway. Palo Alto, Mountain View, Sunnyvale, they have a lot more activists and they have a lot more integration with the city and the citizenry. Even San Jose, as large as they are, uniquely has a fairly significant number of activists. It doesn't always equate to actual execution and governance, but they do reach. So I do hope that we rechannel our efforts to reach out to the activists. I know Debbie or I or some other activists certainly speak a lot. Reason this came up was I was actually told by someone, you did a great job. You talked for an hour and 45, or a minute 45, 2 minutes 45 seconds, and then you try to jam that last little bit.
That was cumulative,
yeah,
right?
Exactly,
Okay.
The last 15 seconds. So I'm really speaking, I guess, to you to say thank you, to the public to come in and participate in this. Because the more people we have up front early on, and I think this sounds really cranked way up, trying to whisper almost, the more I think we're going to have better governance and better execution. really it's important. We face so many issues. If we as activists were listened to, I think we would have actually had a better stadium. We probably would have actually had a roof on that stadium. We would have done better things with hanging on to our RDA funds. But there are ways that we as activists can be used to push the politicians at the county level, at the state level. And that's something else I'd also like to have you kind of think about during break, is how can activists be used, not just in Santa Clara, but how can we actually interact with the Assembly and the State Senate and the Governor's Office? How can we do this? Because a lot of our issues are so big. They're not just in Santa Clara, but issues that are done at the state level affect us greatly. So anyway, have a good vacation, and I hope we see each other not after midnight tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrew Boone, and after that, I don't have any cards. If you'd like to speak, please queue up. Good evening, Andrew.
Good evening. My name is Andrew Boone. I live in East Palo Alto, and I travel to Santa Clara mostly on my bicycle. That kind of shapes my view of how good is the city for people, of course, since I walk or bike everywhere or take the El Camino buses a lot. And honestly, I have to say that Santa Clara is one of the more challenging places to ride a bike. And I think that the city has fallen a little bit behind its neighbors in pushing forward safe, comfortable infrastructure for people biking and for people walking. Even San Jose has really made quite a nice downtown, at least in the downtown, wide bike lanes. You've got a lot of space to ride where it's comfortable to do so. And Santa Clara is not that way. When I get here, I think, okay, this is the part where I need to be extra careful. I need to watch out for traffic. Monroe is the main route, and it needs to be main route to go north-south between San Jose and Mountain View, and it needs to be better. It does have bike lanes on it, but those bike lanes are in the door zone of parked cars. So you have to either ride in a place where people could open a door in front of you, or you have to ride in a traffic lane with the car traffic. And that's not the case in Sunnyvale or San Jose or Mountain View in the whole route. It's much more comfortable. So I hope that one of the outcomes of the ongoing, I think it's happening right now, the bicycle and pedestrian plan, is a better north-south route. We have, going in the other direction, a great trail, the San Tomas Aquino Creek Trail, which unfortunately gets shut down during 49ers football games. It should remain open as the environmental impact report promised it would be. But other than that, it is a great route going in that direction. In the other direction, it's really a bad compromise for people bicycling. I also wanted to point out that I see on this council 5 out of 7 council members are women, and that's unusual in the region. To have a majority female council, I think it's a great thing and important that just not men are making all the decisions everywhere in our region. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, very good. I don't have any others. If you'd like to make a public presentation, please come forward. Good evening.
I've inherited a phone.
Oh, somebody's phone? Okay. Thank you. Welcome.
I'm going to panic if it rings. I had the opportunity, was it yesterday or day before yesterday? I've lost track, to attend the economic development meeting. And there was a discussion that I actually wasn't allowed to participate in over spending $15,000. And I was very disappointed in that for one reason, that there was a whole lot of questions that should have been answered, like what's the goal, what's their history, et cetera. And one of the things that came out of that meeting was we had council members and a vice mayor directing city staff to do something, which I thought wasn't allowed, and also actively trying to find a way to get that $15,000 out of city funds and not bringing that money before the council for their approval. I found that to be very underhanded. And it was intentionally and even literally said, how do we do it without bringing it before city council? So I think those shenanigans should not be taking place at all. And I wonder if, so I would request that that be stopped. And I would also ask that it never be allowed again. And I also would ask how else and however often it's been done in addition to that, in that meeting or any other meeting where those three people are there and no one is bird dogging or babysitting them because of what they're doing. So that's inappropriate, and they shouldn't be doing that. They shouldn't be directing staff at all. So I think that has to stop. Okay, so additionally, we talked last week about fixing the Prune Ridge road diet problem. I've driven over that about 6 times since we've talked about it at least. That really needs to be looked at again. What you're proposing is even more dangerous than what we have now. So I think we need to get an expert out there and look at it. Because putting a left-hand turn in the way you're proposing, you are going to have rear-end collisions, you're going to have more bike collisions, you're going to have more problems there than you have now. So before you proceed, please have an expert look at that. I'm telling you, you're going to have problems. I also found out that somebody said they had the bike coalition and a bunch of people looking at the San Tomas Aquino Creek Trail. Scott and I have been very active on that creek trail, and we're not invited to those meetings. I was told the bike coalition was. The bike coalition has brought in to represent the 49ers. They have not been involved in this. So please do not take their word as gospel. They are handmaidens for the 49ers. So before any decisions are made, please bring the people in that have been concerned about it, and that's not the bike coalition. We're talking to the wrong end of the horse again. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. I don't know about the 15,000. I'm sure staff will keep us informed as to what's happening on that for sure. And Prune Ridge Road Diet, I think, is coming back soon. And it's the pinch point for the bicycles. Yeah, it's the pinch point for the bicycles. So that is coming back. All right, if there are no other public presentations, we have consent items that were pulled for discussion. And the first item in order is Kurt Vartan, and that would be A2. And A2 is approval of the city water utility forces for the installation of facilities and upgrades at 3963 Stevens Creek Boulevard, 1098 Lexington Street, 1300 Norman Avenue, 2940 Kiefer Road, 4525 Stevens Creek Boulevard, 1111 Bellamy Street, and the intersection of Stevens Creek Boulevard and Henry Avenue. Mr. Vartan, please come forward. I'm going to have you both do both yours while you're up there.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
That's 14A2.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. My question is specifically not around all of those things, just that last item, the Henry Stevens Creek repairs. It wasn't clear what exactly is happening in the extent of the construction, but and I'm sure the city is well aware that there is a signal that's planned to go into that intersection very shortly. I thought it was going to be in 2016. I don't know when it's actually going to happen, but if digging is going to happen, I would hate to see whether it's San Jose paying the bill or Santa Clara paying the bill, people wasting money and wasting resources, wasting time. So can you tell us what some level of assurance that it's coordinated or how that's being coordinated with San Jose?
Do you want to answer that, if you're prepared to answer that, City Manager? If
Not
not, we'd
specifically,
refer.
but Mayor, we are aware of that signal project, and definitely when we are aware of projects, we try to coordinate, even if one is going in front of the other, so that there's no duplication of effort or waste of money.
That's good.
But
I see the
I will
point.
have to look more into details.
If you could look more in detail on that, because we certainly don't want to put in money where it's going to be torn out. So that's a very good point. So can we have a motion? Oh, did you have something else on that one?
No.
Oh, wait, to approve this item 14A2?
Second.
Motion second. Lights on the motion with those comments in mind, and that passes unanimously. And then Kurt, you had F3. And F3 is Sprint PCS 200 North Winchester Boulevard, request for a special permit to allow for a temporary cellular on wheels facility, a cow facility. Staff recommendation approval, subject to conditions.
Again, it was more of the location of this tower. It looks like it's about a 60 or 70 foot device with a 12 by 12 foot base, cement base, so it's fairly immovable once it's positioned. And I guess if this is going to be, I know the 100 Winchester is being demolished for about 95 units of senior market rate housing. And there's currently a cell tower there, or a temporary tower there, or something's there, and it's going to get moved temporarily. And I guess from an aesthetics and from a location, is there a chance to do something? I keep thinking what Fred Kent would say right now: lighter, quicker, cheaper. What can we do with this? Since we're disrupting something and creating something, can we do something there? Can maybe there's a bench that can be integrated into this ugly cement base that's going to be put there for I don't know how many months. And is there a potential to other services? Maybe it's a Wi-Fi hotspot, or maybe it's an additional cell provider can partner with Sprint, so it's not just a Sprint tower. And I noticed there were a couple days, they did like 4 days of study. I don't think it's going to impact parking, and that parking lot's fairly substantial parking space. But just if we're doing something and people are spending money, how can we make that a little bit more special? Maybe it's a little bit more attractive than just this big tower that's sitting there. I don't know if it can be disguised at all. It doesn't look like it can be, but
yeah, if we could talk about that, because I'm not sure if the residents in the area know that this is going to be happening and how big it is.
Yeah, and it looks like the tower is relatively small. Like the mast that goes up is like a big thick flagpole, but like maybe, I don't know, a foot in diameter. But anyway, so those are my questions.
Thank you. City Manager, do you have comments on that?
Thank you, Mayor. We had asked the applicant to coordinate with the residents. City did not lead that effort. So if there's a desire, we can, look into that a little more. At the same time, as Mr. Vartan points out, whether we can make it more attractive, that part also we have not looked into that, because this is temporary. This is for USA Properties, which is next to Walgreen. Mm-hmm. And so we did not really go to the extent of really placemaking or project and public space type.
Could we just find out if they reached out to the community? Because it's temporary, but it's 2 years temporary.
Correct. And I recall they were asked to reach out, but we can
could we defer this item until you do that? Because the problem will be if it's up, then it's too late.
Sure.
Then they're here at the council meeting saying, why weren't we informed? So unless there's someone here from that company.
Applicant is here if you would like to hear from them.
Very good. Excuse me, Deborah, can the applicant answer some of these questions? Thank you. Oh, it's so handy that you're here. Thank you. Welcome.
Good evening. Sean Reynolds with USA Properties. Just to answer the question, the cow is already on the site at 100 North Winchester. We're just looking at moving it. That's already been approved, obviously, through City Council. And that was all discussed. The neighbors were let know that the cow's going in there.
The neighbors were informed?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
We've been talking with all of them. We have a good relationship with Dave Lazarini's apartment property to the north, which we're going to be right next to. Fully discussed with all of them.
Good. We want to keep that good relationship. So thank you for that clarification.
Not a problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On this item, Debbie? Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to clarify, temporary, I don't think 2 years is what I would call exactly temporary. That's kind of a little longer than temporary. Temporary would be months, not 2 years. And are they paying a fee to have that there for 2 years? And the idea of making it something useful, I think, is something we should take as a standard of how we operate instead of an exception of how we operate. So, you're putting it into a parking lot, and there is bus stop and activities that go down Winchester. So perhaps, like Kirk was saying, integrate a bench or something into it for people to use it while they're waiting for their ride share or whatever they're waiting for is not a bad idea. So is somebody paying for using that for 2 years? That would be an interesting thing, because I looked at the thing, and I didn't see any notation.
When you're finished, I'll ask the.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. City Manager, they pay a permit fee?
Yes, they pay a permit fee, yeah, and that's what we charge, not anything else beyond that. Yeah.
Right, it's a permit fee they pay. All right, thank you. Is there a motion to approve? And a second? Motion second. Lights on the motion, that passes unanimously. Next we have, sorry, there's quite a few here.
14A4.
A4 and A7. Dave?
I pulled these
Oh,
two.
Davis, sorry. I wrote Dave. Davis.
Yeah, sorry, Davis,
Oops.
Davis.
Can't spell.
Yeah, I pulled this one because I wanted
Let
Gary
me
Welling here?
explain what it is
Oh.
first. Adoption of a resolution discontinuing Plan 2 of the Water Shortage Contingency Plan adopted by Council on August 23, 2016, and amending the city's water service and use rules and regulations, and set a citywide goal to maintain a voluntary 10% reduction in water demands compared with 2013. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, is Gary Welling here to?
Yes, he is.
Okay. Gary, I just wanted you to kind of explain this to everyone because we just went through the drought. Everybody was rationed and did what a wonderful job, but could you explain why we went with the 10%?
Sure. This year around, the Santa Clara Valley Water District was looking at 20%, and we've had 20% since August 23rd of last year. But on April 7th, the governor called the drought emergency off, and there was no requirement for the cities, the 400 water utility purveyors in the state to follow that 20% reduction. And it was a little different for each community. So that was called off, but we decided instead of just eliminating it completely, we would leave a 10% in there. We want to continue to reaffirm the behaviors and the great job that the residents and the commercial users have done in this city. And so we decided we would leave a 10% as a goal instead of just wiping that slate clean. There's a good chance in a few years we'll be back in the same place, possibly not as bad, but
Hope not.
let's hope not.
Okay, thank you for the explanation.
Sure.
And Mayor, the drought absolutely is cyclical. I mean, now it's not there. We had a lot of rains this year, but no predictions how it will continue in the future years. As Gary mentioned, I mean, people have gotten used to good habits
Right.
of conserving water, and so that's why it's a voluntary goal, not a mandated goal. So.
Okay, motion to approve.
Motion second, lights on the motion, and that passes. Councilmember, oh, he's missing. And that passes with one off the dais. Thank you. All right, next we have Councilmember Watanabe B1, approval of amendment number 1 to the agreement for
Oh, I pulled A7.
Oh, sorry, A7.
Yeah.
Note and file the outstanding debt schedule as of June 30th, 2017 for the City of Santa Clara, its agencies and corporations, including the city's share of various joint powers agency debt. Councilmember Davis.
Okay, that one, I also, I think this was Angie. Angie, I just wanted another explanation for this, for the powers that be.
Angie, could you answer that, please?
Yeah.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. So this is a report that we do semi-annually to show you where we are on our debt. Two big things that you probably noticed is we actually paid off the successor agency debt, which is really great. That's because we sold parcel 2. I can't take credit for that because I started right when we sold it, but it's in my report. And then also the Stadium Authority, we were able to pay about $43 million extra on the debt, and that's just because we had extra revenue at the end of the year once we filled all the buckets up and paid all of our expenditures. So that's a good thing too. So we've got our debt down on there too.
Yeah, I just needed you to explain that because when people read this at home, they see it on consent and they don't understand. So a little explanation goes a long way.
Sure.
So thank you so much, and motion to approve.
Second.
Yes. Scott?
Just real quick, I know she doesn't have the answer to it, but I can't help but think, what if we actually fully knew all the information with our contracts with the 49ers? What would that number be? How many more millions? The American News is underreporting, I think, how much the 49ers and Stadium Authority is owed by Levi's SMC. So just want to note that for the record, too, to thank the City Council and the Stadium Authority for pushing to try to find the answers and continuing to find out also what the non-NFL events are. It's really critical. And I would say a lot of people at home, I'm sure, have your back as well to get that information, because it may up 10 million to 20 million. Who knows what's owed by the city, but thank you very much for pushing that along.
Scott?
We know it doesn't end.
Thank you. Yes.
Yes, Stephen Hazel. I didn't start out, I lived here over 50 years. I went to Palm Beach School. Actually, my house butted right up against the school. My backyard was an elementary school. My mother went to school to become a fifth grade elementary teacher when I was in fifth grade. In fact, Lisa, you know, you kind of stayed there for a short time, one of those houses, actually right next to us. That was kind of good. I just remember that a long time ago. You had a perm, you drove up in this Mercedes. That's all I remember.
Hey, I never lived next to you, but that's okay.
I know.
I did go to high school with you,
but shortly, you stayed there just briefly, you know. I'm just saying, you know, my backyard was a elementary school. And what I wanted to say was, and I know this is going to rub some people the wrong way, but with the 49ers, they never did pay their fair share. And that's why you had the work furloughs and everything for like 5 years. I mean, to date, we were short like probably $7 million to date, just on the training facility, the rent they're paying, $25,000 a year. Can you believe that? Where a donut shop is paying $5,000 a month. These guys should pay $1.5 million for that parcel. And it's good for 40, up to 60 years. If that ain't fraud, it's fair and honest dealings. That's what we're entitled as a member of the public. That's bad. That's got to be renegotiated, okay? Because someone should be going to prison for that one. I'm just saying. Who signed off on that deal, okay? The city's been suffering for years. We're losing $1.5 million every year just on one business owner who couldn't supply one parking space for his project. Not one parking space. They all relied on everybody else's spaces, including the golf course. I don't like what's going on with that either, because it was a promise that they weren't going to touch that golf course, okay? But just want to remember, my backyard was an elementary school. And like, remember that little girl would say in fifth grade? April Fools, George Bush, 41. He's the devil.
Thank you so much. All right. And there's a motion and a second on that. Lights on the motion. And that passes unanimously. Next, we have Councilmember Watanabe, B1. Approval of Amendment Number 1 to the Agreement for Design Professional Services with Knoll and Tam Architects in an amount not to exceed $32,485 for the Mission Branch Library Remodel Project, and authorization for the city manager to make minor non-substantive modifications.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to just confirm that this was as a result of the approval that the council made to install the windows, and also as a result, do we have an idea of when this project will be going out for an RFP?
Sure. Councilmember Watanabe, yes, this is the result of those additions that we did during the budget phase of the city budget approval process. And this project will be advertised in August, and we'll bring it back to you in September with the bids, hopefully good bids. Right. And then we'll also share with you what the ad alternates could be added to the project.
Great. Thank you very much.
Did they come in low so we can add more?
That's correct.
Okay, good. We love our library, right? Okay. B1, is that a motion?
Yes, a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second. Lights on the motion, and that passes unanimously. Next, Kathy, you have B3, which is approval of the legal service agreement with Duncan, Weinberg, Genzer, and Pembroke, PC, in an amount not to exceed $1,500,000, subject to budgetary appropriations for legal services to support the electric utility.
Okay. Yeah, I had pulled this as well, Mayor. Thank you. I had was just curious as to whether or not this is an annual a contract, and also if we could get an idea what the scope of services is, because I mean, 1.5 million just seemed like a lot of money for 1 year, if that's what it is.
So Director Rockma, while he comes up, he can give you the details of what they do. However, they are very specialized attorneys in Federal Regulatory Commission rules and regulations, and they've protected us, you know, with their knowledge on those rules and regulations. This is not an annual contract. It's a lump sum dollar amount, and it's more like time and material. As we need them, we use them. When the money gets exhausted, we'll come back to you.
I see. Okay.
So, John.
Thank you. Welcome.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah, Duncan Weinberg does our work with the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. And that means all of our contracts with PG&E and the interconnection with other utilities, the interaction with the California Independent System Operator, which controls the transmission grid in the in the state and brings all the energy from our various generation projects into the city, all our interactions there. Also, FERC is responsible for the mandatory federal reliability requirements. And so we're audited and we're subject to literally hundreds of these reliability requirements, and they support us on those. Our hydro relicensing, our Grizzly Hydroelectric project, where we're jointly relicensing with PG&E, which is ongoing. They support that effort also. And then there's a lot of issues, and I should also say the California Independent System Operator also controls all the energy markets in the state. So you bid into and you buy out of those. And so they support us in all of our interactions with that. Now, a lot of these interactions, there are other municipal utilities in the state that are also involved, and we actually share the expenses on those where there's a joint issues with Redding, Modesto Irrigation District, the MSR Public Power Agency. So when we can, we actually share the billings with them.
Thank you very much. It wasn't clear whether it was an annual or how long the contract was for, so thank you very much for the explanation.
Thank you, John, for that clarification.
And that's a motion to approve.
Okay. Oh, yes, thank you. Okay, the same item. Yes,
Same item.
Scott.
Yeah, I just want to say, obviously, it's important that California ISO and FERC is involved. If I can go 60,000-foot level, this is just like what Santa Clara does with CEQA. Instead of getting people on staff to understand CEQA, we're also not getting people to understand FERC. We also refuse to actually look at the budgetary analysis to try to find out, are we charging the right amount of money? By continually going with outsourced projects, we really don't have accountability. We don't have institutional learning. We don't have a memory to how to do this stuff. Once you start doing these processes, it's not rocket science, number one, I'll be honest, and number two, it's very specialized, but it's not rocket science. We must replicate this. We must bring expertise in-house. Silicon Valley Power is the most important engine probably of any city in Santa Clara. Why do we keep outsourcing this? Why don't we bring the expertise in-house? Long-term, it will be cheaper. Even with the pension issues, I understand that that's an ongoing forever item. It will be cheaper to do it. We continually, I'm not saying we shouldn't outsource certain things, but there are certain things we just need to bring in-house. This is one of those I severely, strongly urge you to consider. I know it's going to be an unanimous vote for it. That's the way it works in Santa Clara, but this is really not the right way to do this. We have to start thinking logically about how to learn from this so we can replicate this. If we had CEQA analysis, if we had stuff on staff, we would be doing better than what we're doing now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sometimes it is necessary to go out and hire outside counsel for specific and specialized issues, and especially Silicon Valley Power. So is there a motion?
Yeah, motion to
and a second?
approve.
Lights on the motion? And that passes unanimously.
Okay.
Next, we have Vanessa Montez, and we have 14 F1. And this is, we have a group. Santa Clara PAL Sparks, is it U14?
Yeah.
It said 14U here, but I, being a mom in sports, I know what that is. U14. Request for funding in the amount of $2,800 for competing in the USA Softball U14B National Championships in Roseville, California from July 31st to August 6, 2017. Staff recommendation approval, subject to execution of a contribution agreement and final approval from the city attorney. Welcome.
Hi.
Yes.
My name is Vanessa Montez, and I'm the head coach of the 14U Santa Clara Sparks softball team. The Santa Clara Sparks are a competitive summer's travel ball team of Santa Clara PAL. The Sparks players are selected from girls playing in the Santa Clara PAL Gals spring recreational season, and they play competitive softball, competing in weekend tournaments with teams from other softball leagues. I myself grew up playing softball for Santa Clara PAL and now have the pleasure of coaching these girls. Let me start by introducing my team.
Well, could you, everyone at home that's watching, and there's thousands of people, could you please come up to the microphone? Come up to the microphone and tell us your name one by one.
No pressure.
And the position you play, okay?
Ooh.
All right.
I'm Michaela Bayer, and I play pitcher. Hi, I'm Francis Hernandez, and I play left field.
Left field.
Hi, I'm Abigail Clayhold.
What position?
Position.
Second base.
Oh. I also play second base.
All right, shortstop.
I'm Jamie Watt, and I play right field. I'm Melissa Butler, and I play left field. I'm Samantha Reyes, and I play...
Is your position funny?
And I play third base.
Third base, okay.
I'm Angelina Trahecki, and I play catcher. I'm Elisa Bontrager, and I pitch and I play center field. I'm Liberty.
Got the giggles, okay.
Right field. I'm Nicole Stallis, and I play center field.
I'm Olivia Diaz, and I play first base.
And I'm Marissa Alcatar, and I play shortstop.
Great.
So we all grew up playing for Santa Clara PAL, and so far this season we have played in 6 tournaments consisting of 31 games. We won 26 of those games, tied 1, and only lost 4, earning 5 first-place championship trophies for Santa Clara. On June...
We gotta clap for that.
On June 25th, we won the Northern California USA Softball Association Championship in our age bracket, which qualified us to move on to compete in the Western National Championship in Roseville the week of July 31st through August 6th. During that week, we'll be competing against 37 other teams from throughout California playing a lot of softball.
We are here today in order to respectfully ask the Santa Clara City Council to see if you would be willing to help us cover some of the costs of our tournament fees for that week. The registration fee alone for the tournament is $1,200, not to mention the hotel, food, and other miscellaneous fees that our families will be paying. Any amount that you can donate would help us greatly. We are excited to be representing Santa Clara in the Western Regional Championship and hope to bring home a trophy to the city. Thank you.
Will you promise to bring it here when you win? When you win. Yeah, you will win, yeah. Okay, great. I think Councilmember Davis, and then I had a question. This does come from our championship team fund, the funding? Okay, great. Councilmember Davis.
Ladies, thank you for coming. I know it's kind of scary walking up to the podium and then you got the giggles, but that's a cool thing. You are going to win. And I would like to make the motion to give you the money so that you will come back with that trophy, with the giggles, and we'll have a good time. How's that?
Second.
Sounds good.
So the motion's for the $2,800 request.
Yes.
There's a motion and a second. Lights on the motion. And that passes unanimously.
Thank you, guys.
Good luck, ladies. Thanks for coming. Okay, seeing no other items. Next, we have reports. Wait a second. Unfinished business, City Manager. Do we have any unfinished business?
No, Mayor, no.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have reports for action. The first is report on minimum wage, community outreach, and pass to print an ordinance establishing the city's local minimum wage with the following provisions. Increased to $13 on January 1st, 2018, and increased to $15 on January 1st, 2019. Add economic triggers that provide an option to delay implementation of the minimum wage increase if a severe recession occurs during the ramp-up period, and change the CPI index used for annual increases beginning January 1st, 2020 to the regional CMSA CPI-W with maximum annual increase of 5%. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. As you mentioned earlier, this item was continued from last week, and there was a committee formed under the chairpersonship of Vice Mayor Caserta. And staff has a brief presentation, but before we go into the presentation, I would defer to Chair Caserta if he wanted to say a few words about the committee proceedings.
Oh, yeah, I just, Madam Mayor, when appropriate, just ask a question, and then when appropriate, make a motion. But thank you, Rajiv.
We have Rania Mohsen, who's management analyst in City Manager's office. She has a presentation on the efforts made and the outreach and the recommendations.
Thank you. Welcome, Rania.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. Well, I can go ahead and. Sorry about that. Okay.
And he lost the screen.
Oh, we don't need a screen. Who needs a screen?
Yes, you go. It's a ghost in the room.
Details.
Someday for fun, if you like, MCPA meeting, and when they get to the legal part, I can't believe they have so many litigations.
You want to?
Sure.
Why don't you just start verbally, and then we'll catch up with that.
Okay, I'll go ahead and begin. So per council's direction, staff has completed community outreach on the proposed ordinance, proposed amendment to the minimum wage ordinance. To briefly provide some context, the city of Santa Clara first passed its minimum wage ordinance in 2015 as an effort to keep low-wage workers and their families out of poverty. It was modeled after the ordinances of Sunnyvale and San Jose, some of the first cities.
It's up now.
Some of the first cities in the county to pass local minimum wage ordinances. The city's current minimum wage is $11.10, and it went into effect on January 1st, 2016. Shortly after that, the state passed its own minimum wage law, known as SB 3, and increased the minimum wage to $15 by 2022. The state's current minimum wage is $10.50. In June of 2016, the Cities Association of Santa Clara County passed a recommendation to its 15-member cities. Oh, okay. I guess I can. I'm sorry, I'm trying to.
Did we put a battery in that? Okay, good. All right, good.
Oh, okay. Okay. Here we go. So in June 2016, the Cities Association recommended to its 15-member cities of Santa Clara County to consider increasing the minimum wage to $15 per hour by 2019. This recommendation was based on the key findings of a countywide economic analysis conducted by UC Berkeley's Institute for Research on Labor and Employment, and concluded that the resulting improvement in living standards for low-income workers would outweigh the effects on employers and consumers. Today, 7 cities in Santa Clara County have adopted local minimum wage ordinances, increasing their minimum wage to $15 by either 2018 or 2019. Due to the regional minimum wage trends and the Economic Development Committee's recommendation to reexamine the city's ordinance, in April of this year, Council approved outreach and an effort to collect stakeholder feedback for the proposed update to increase the minimum wage ordinance to $15 by 2019. So per Council's direction, staff has implemented and completed a community outreach plan and has made significant efforts to obtain feedback from stakeholders. An online survey was first launched on May 16th using Open City Hall, and nearly 9,000 mailers were sent to all businesses in the city of Santa Clara that possess business tax licenses. And this mailer included notice of the proposal, the link to the online server, and a series of community meetings that businesses could attend and community members could attend to provide feedback. This notice was distributed through the city's e-blast via e-notify, Twitter, Facebook, and Nextdoor, and also through organizations that have large membership stakeholders, such as the Santa Clara Chamber of Commerce. Notice was also distributed through the city's dedicated website of minimum wage and the email, as well as a form of communication between members of the public. Almost 300 people responded to the minimum wage survey. However, a majority of those respondents were residents, indicating that there was a low response from businesses to the survey. However, feedback was mainly provided from businesses at the community meetings. And there was a total of 7 meetings that city staff participated in and shared the proposal. 4 meetings were hosted by the city throughout various locations and at various times to accommodate schedules and locations of businesses. Staff also participated at 3 Chamber of Commerce meetings, known as Connections Club meetings, and they are small network group meetings. And staff did attend those meetings at their offices. In addition, staff also did some outreach directly to employers, such as California's Great America, Santa Clara Convention Center, and Santa Clara University. During outreach, 3 potential approaches to increasing the minimum wage were shared. Option 1 is a 2-step schedule that proposes to increase the minimum wage from $11.10 to $13 on January 1st, 2018, and $15 on January 1st, 2019. Option 2 is a 3-step schedule that would begin with $12 January 1st, 2018, $13.50 on July 1st, 2018, and $15 on January 1st, 2019. And the third option presented was to continue the city's minimum wage ordinance as is and to eventually align with the state's wage in 2019. About 40 business owners and managers participated in the city's outreach and Chamber of Commerce Connection Club meetings, representing small and large employers. All participants had an opportunity to provide feedback on the proposal, the 3 minimum wage approaches for consideration, the key findings of the key findings of the countywide economic analysis. When asked about which option to implement if an increase in minimum wage were approved, the majority preferred the 2-step option due to its ease of implementation. Several business representatives did support increasing the minimum wage or expressed support for increasing the minimum wage beyond the state schedule, considering the city and region's high cost of living, and also as an effort in support of regional consistency in order to mitigate the impacts and to maintain competitiveness with businesses across the region. Small businesses expressed some concerns about the impact on their low profit margins and made some suggestions for council to consider should council approve an update to the minimum wage ordinance. Some of those suggestions included a slower phase-in for small businesses with less than 25 employees. This exemption is included in the state's minimum wage law, and some cities in the state of California have included this. However, cities in Santa Clara County have not included it. Other suggestions include a slower schedule of increase. Some of the small businesses felt that reaching 15 by 2019 was a little too quick. Also, businesses suggested evaluating policies and programs that the city could implement in order to assist businesses with the absorption of rising operation costs due to a minimum wage increase. And in reaching out to the chamber, the Santa Clara Chamber of Commerce did implement its own independent survey through phone, and the results indicate that a majority of the businesses surveyed do not support a minimum wage increase. Based on the city survey, in which 81% stated they were residents, a majority do support increasing the minimum wage. 71% agree or somewhat agree that a minimum wage increase makes sense for the city of Santa Clara given the high cost of living. As noted, there are about 7 cities in Santa Clara County that have passed minimum wage ordinances. and plan to reach $15 by 2018 or 2019. This chart here shows how their schedule increases compare and also include the City of Santa Clara's minimum wage increase and the proposed rate for the City of Santa Clara as well. Mountain View and Sunnyvale were the first two cities to pass minimum wage ordinances to reach $15 by 2018, and they are currently at $12. Shortly after them, Cupertino, Los Altos, and Palo Alto also passed minimum wage ordinances, and they're planning to reach 15 by 2019. And most recently, Milpitas and San Jose have also passed minimum wage ordinances. Their schedules are a little bit different, and they are planning to make some adjustments mid-year. As of the first of this month, San Jose's is at $12, Milpitas at $11. They both plan to reach 15 by 2019. Milpitas does plan to make its adjustments yearly beginning July 1st of each year. There are 5 other cities in the county that have determined not to adopt a minimum wage ordinance and have determined to follow the state's minimum wage law. And those include Campbell, Gilroy, Los Gatos, Morgan Hill, and Saratoga. And then there are 2 other cities, Montesrino, Los Altos Hills, who have determined a minimum wage ordinance does not apply to their jurisdictions because they do not have commercial zones or industry. Regarding the fiscal impact to the city, if a minimum wage ordinance amendment were to occur, it can be evaluated in 2 parts, through the cost of enforcement and the cost of personnel costs. The increase in personnel costs. To administer and enforce the current ordinance citywide, the city contracts with the City of San Jose's Office of Quality Assurance for enforcement, and it's done through a complaint-driven model. And basically, it means that fees are only paid when a complaint is filed, investigated, or resolved. Many of the cities in the county that have minimum wage ordinances in place do have similar contracts with the City of San Jose. And for this past fiscal year, a total of $1,800 was invoiced to the city for its current minimum wage ordinance, and the city has renewed the contract as well for the next fiscal year. To implement the proposed ordinance within the city's organization, there are over 400 part-time employees that would be impacted and are currently paid between $11.10 and $15 per hour. Many are seasonal and occupy such roles as lifeguards, recreation leaders, and crossing guards. And in order to increase their wages per hour, it is estimated that about $500,000 would be the cost to the city over 2 years, and total impact to reach potentially over $800,000 in order to maintain pay differentials between entry-level and higher-level workers. And this basically means that there would be a ripple effect, and those that make even above $15 will have to be adjusted in order to maintain the difference between the classifications. Staff will also be evaluating an amended salary schedule for part-time employees to ensure that employment does remain favorable within our city and is competitive when compared to our surrounding cities, especially since our surrounding cities have also increased their minimum wages. So due to the high cost of living and based on community stakeholder feedback, ease of implementation, and for regional consistency, staff recommends consideration of an amendment to the city's minimum wage ordinance using the 2-step schedule, and that includes increasing the minimum wage to $13 and then $15 in 2019. Also to include other provisions that have been included in other ordinances across the region, and that includes adding an option to pause the increase if there's an economic downturn. This would only apply during the ramp-up period should an economic recession occur. There are 2 triggers that would have to be met in order to pause on those increases, and those include negative job growth and retail sales. And the increases could be paused by September 1st of each year. And also to index minimum wage annual increases using the regional CPI instead of the national CPI, which is currently used by the city of Santa Clara to account for the cost of living here in the region, and for increases not to exceed 5%. Should council approve the draft ordinance, the second reading would be scheduled for August 22nd, the next council meeting.
Thank you. Is there any questions from council? Councilmember O'Neill.
My light's on. So my first question is the staff recommendation, adding the option, adding the option to pause the increase. You said there are two triggers. Are you saying that they both have to be met?
Yes.
Okay. And then what is the common practice in the county on this pausing with the triggers? I understand that's pretty common statewide, but countywide it's...
Yeah, so there are cities, other cities have also included this in their minimum wage ordinances. Cupertino, San Jose, Los Altos, those are all cities that have included it.
They have the triggers.
Milpitas
But
as
there's
well.
a few that don't, right? Sunnyvale and...
Yeah, so I believe Sunnyvale and Mountain View, who had passed their minimum wage ordinance a little bit before these other cities, they may not include it, and I understand that Palo Alto as well does not include it.
And then my second question is on the slide of community outreach efforts. There was 4 run by the city and then 3 run by the chamber. Was staff at the chamber meetings and were chamber folks at the city meetings? Was there overlap?
Yes, there was.
Okay, and would you describe, was it robust attendance? Because I've gotten a mixed bag. I've gotten some people saying it was well done, other people saying we didn't have enough. So from your perspective, can you kind of clarify that?
Sure. So the city hosted meetings. Attendance was light, I'd have to say. We did have attendance from the chamber there. And in collaborating on, making sure that businesses are aware of the proposal and to hear their feedback on the proposal, the Chamber of Commerce invited staff to attend Connection Club meetings.
And so
at those meetings, attendance was pretty fair.
And then a year ago, we had the highest minimum wage with Palo Alto. Now we're in the bottom third of the county. That's correct?
Yes.
Okay, I will make a motion, Madam Mayor, when appropriate.
Councilmember O'Neill.
Thank you. So I've been getting some input from some various aspects of the community too, and some kind of relate to some of the things that Vice Mayor Caserta is referring to. And so over the weekend when I was looking at the reports and I was looking at the report that came from the city's survey versus the data that was supplied by the chamber, and I've been looking, I don't know that I see anybody from the, is there a representative of the chamber here?
I believe so. No?
Anyone from the Chamber of Commerce here?
Yeah, Mr. Horton definitely is not here.
I don't see anybody
Okay.
else. Okay. All right. Okay, so let me just, so one of the things that I'm just trying to look at this from an objective perspective here. So on the survey, when you look at the survey from Santa Clara, the vast majority, there's a lot of people who are just residents, so very few of them are actually business owners. So, my perspective as somebody who does not own a business and doesn't have to pay, make payroll, my perspective could potentially be very different from somebody who's a business owner. And so one of the things I noticed in the data that was supplied by the chamber from their survey of apparently 116 members that, are business owners, data seemed to be quite a bit different in terms of, it wasn't so much that they would close their business, but that they, in the chart that was in the agenda report, there was a lot of, potential, particularly for, we all have to be aware, price increases. I know in some cities in the Bay Area where we've seen change, because this, let's face it, for a lot of us, where we're going to impact this the most is like if we go to a restaurant, that they are putting surcharges on bills to cover the increase in the minimum wage. So it was just, so I see a fairly likely chance for price increases, and one that was a little alarming. Two others that were alarming were reduction in employee hours and investing in technologies that reduce labor costs, which probably means more mechanization and fewer jobs. So I don't know if you had a chance to, in those meetings, talk to members of the chamber about this data that's in what they see from their members?
Yeah, so as I stated, during those meetings, there were some businesses, who felt that because of the high cost of living, yes, we should increase the minimum wage, but there were some businesses who did express concerns, and they were concerned about how it would affect their bottom line. Also, in the countywide economic analysis, it does report, based on the analysis, it does report that price increases there will be price increases across industry. About 1% across industries, 2.1% for retail, and about 9% for restaurants. So it is anticipated that prices will likely increase with this.
Right. And I know we've talked a lot about wanting to have more, mom and pop type businesses. And so I was wondering, in all of the discussion, and I know you have a real background in this area, has there been any studies that show like the difference between the impact on, say, like a chain-owned business versus, say, like what we've talked about, the mom and pop, like, say, like businesses that are owned by somebody who maybe has one or two or three? Is there anything that you've found that is there a difference in the impact?
I'm not familiar with a study that specifically targets a business that has multi-locations versus a business that doesn't. There have been some studies on the city of San Jose's initial increase from $8 to $10, and there have been some studies on other cities. There's conflicting results, but for the most part. At least based on the study from San Jose, researchers found that, with a 10% increase, there is about 0.5% increase in prices, in restaurant prices particularly.
So since I spent my career as an evil capitalist, thinking back about the issue of like market forces, so I've noticed as I go from business to business around Santa Clara that some of them have signs in the windows that, kind of post what their wages are. I had mentioned this yesterday to the city manager. I'm just curious, again, in all the discussions that had come up about, I see already businesses that are advertising that they're paying more or paying $15 an hour already in locations that you would kind of think might be minimum wage. Is there any sense of, is the market already forcing wages even above what our minimum wage ordinances are calling for?
You mean, are they planning to?
Or like, do we have a sense of, how, just because of I hear things that a lot of people who are trying to live on these wages can't, and so they are leaving the area, and so as the market for, as the pool of those laborers and workers shrinks, are the ones that remain able to, are they getting more money? And but we have openings, like I also, the same restaurants that have the signs up about how much they're paying, most of them have a help wanted sign. So are we seeing that kind of market pressure on wages? Or is that already, or do we have any sense of that? Like, is that helping, is that already causing wages to increase?
Councilmember, maybe I can attempt that. I don't think staff went into that kind of analysis or surveys, but you're absolutely right. I mean, these kind of things are market-driven. Some restaurants or some businesses within Santa Clara may already be paying over 15. On the other hand, if we left it at 11 and other cities do go to 15, and if the workers leave to go and work there, these businesses may have to increase their wages anyway. Right. So it could be market-driven, and that's a philosophical thing. It's just that as a city, we are sending a positive message that, our minimum is 15 and not less than that. So it's a philosophical discussion as well.
I just think that, particularly because there's starting to be, and I'm not saying, I feel tremendously, like I said, these minimum wages are not living wages. We all acknowledge that nobody, unless you're living about 8 people in an apartment, you cannot really make it on these wages. So I want us to be thinking about what's really, what is the data showing us, so we can understand what we're really, because, I think a lot of us would say, the biggest cost determiner here is, people afford to live here, which is their housing cost. So that was I was just curious whether there had been any other thought about what's going on there, or the other piece, and this is probably in keeping with what the city manager says, the other thought that's occurred to me, are we seeing people being able then to get out of these, to rise up above minimum wage jobs, or is there a problem the way our economy is structured that people aren't being able to have any upward mobility, and so that these are no longer just starter jobs, these are career jobs? I mean, just curious in your research if you saw anything about that.
Yeah, I'm not familiar.
Okay.
With
I
the
think,
research.
Councilmember O'Neill, where you're struggling is we really could have benefited from the Chamber of Commerce being here and getting the data on businesses, especially small businesses in Santa Clara, that this would, really affect. So you're asking questions. So let me ask, is there anyone from the Silicon Valley organization here that maybe could answer some questions? I know they've been attending our meetings. So,
No chamber people.
I mean, those are all very legitimate questions, but it doesn't look like I'm sure Rania, she did a fantastic job and is not able to answer. And you have legitimate questions, but we don't have any information from the chamber. So thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone else from the council? Councilmember Watanabe.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Rania, for the presentation. Regarding the slower phase-in for small businesses with less than 25 employees, do we know what that phase-in would be, and is it a consideration? Is it something that we're considering as part of this tonight?
So the phase-in would be a one-year delay for small businesses. That's what the state has implemented. So the state's minimum wage is $10.50. It is $10 for small businesses with less than 25 employees right now. So that is up to council's consideration.
Okay.
And she doesn't know about the chamber and how many that would be.
Right. So in other words, council could decide for businesses with less than 25 employees, phase in whether it's by 2020 or a later year, you can decide that.
Yeah. I know several cities in the county did consider this exemption, but opted not to include it and to not differentiate between the size of businesses.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just thinking about the small businesses in Santa Clara. I mean, we have quite a few mom and pop businesses, and I wouldn't want to see them impacted in a negative way as a result of this. So if it was something that we consider as part of the motion, I would be happy to see that added as part of the motion if possible.
Okay, thank you. I do have several cards, so if we can start going through these for the public. David Urhausen, and then Kurt Vartan after that. Thank you, Rania. Excellent presentation.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. David Urhausen, Political Director of the South Bay Labor Council, representing 101 unions and over 100,000 working men and women in Santa Clara County. I'm also a registered lobbyist with the city. Researchers at UC Berkeley on the topic say that a regional approach to increasing the minimum wage to 15 would increase earnings for about 250,000 workers in Santa Clara County, or 25% of the county's workforce. Among those getting raises in Santa Clara County, annual pay would increase 19.5%, or $3,200 in 2014 dollars on average. These estimates include a ripple effect in which some workers who already earn 15 will also receive an increase. In addition, the workers who would receive pay increases are the lowest paid workers in Santa Clara County, and their wages represent only 6.1% of total wages. Employee turnover reductions, automation, and increases in worker productivity would offset some of these payroll cost increases. Businesses would absorb the remaining payroll cost increases by increasing prices slightly, 2% through through 2019, and this price increase is well below the annual inflation rate, and it would only be slightly higher for restaurants at about 2.9%. The facts and figures are there. Now we are urging your leadership on the issue. The cost of living in this valley is so much higher than the rest of the state. We must be ahead of the state. Working to get 15 by 19 is the right thing to do. We have the numbers to back up our regional approach, and now we need Santa Clara to act to pump in millions of dollars into our local economy and ensure working people can make enough to stay in our county. A clean 15 by 19, following staff's recommendation of option 1, with no exemptions and no phase-ins. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Kurt Vartan, and then after that, Patty Picard. Welcome, Kurt.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So I'm a small business owner here in Santa Clara. I've been in business for almost 11 years, and I fully support giving our employees as much money as we can. If we want to talk about a minimum, maybe we should talk the minimum at $25 an hour. And then, oh my God, groans, and oh my goodness, the businesses are going to freak out. But guess what? You know, people can't live here, as Councilmember O'Neill said. $15 an hour is not a living wage. It's a, survive barely on the edge of your seat wage. And the pricing has to come from somewhere. So when this guy talks about 2% increase in a restaurant, I don't know what restaurant he's talking about. It's not mine. I have a 45% labor cost, so we're happy to talk afterwards on how he's able to get his labor costs down so much. But we already pay people pretty well, and we're happy to pay people more. But I still have complaints from customers that come in and say, geez, your prices are a little high. I don't think we're that high, but I know we're not the lowest. And part of the education needs to come from leadership that's sitting up here in front of me. You guys need to say to your community that supports your local businesses that just suck it up and understand it costs a lot to live here. And that means it costs a lot to live in rent, and it costs a lot to live in services. And these services need to be paid for by, this is like socialism in this case, it's going to be spread out amongst all the consumers. And those consumers need to just smile and say, you know what, I'm happy to pay an extra 50 cents a slice or whatever it is that we have to, because that's what it's going to take to keep our businesses operating. And so it's not a matter of what you raise it to. I'm disappointed that you guys aren't going to raise it to $15 by next year, because that's what Sunnyvale's doing. And now we're going to be out of lock again. And I have two businesses, so I try and keep those straight. We just go to the higher one anyways. But the point is the community needs to know what's going on and why prices are going up. And we're a high labor business, and that's why it affects restaurants in my business a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt. Hey, if we could keep the down just so we can keep it moving and don't intimidate people if they want to come up and speak their mind. Thank you, Patty Picard, and then Satnam Gill. Welcome, Patty.
Thank you, and I appreciate that my city is doing this. I am president of CSEA, California School Employees Association. I represent 800 plus classified employees in Santa Clara Unified School District. And I'm also a delegate to the South Bay Labor Council. Talking about the phase-in for business, we kind of have that every time San Jose and Santa Clara have different rates at the mall. And I worked with students who would switch where they work depending upon which city had the higher rate. So the businesses, if you phase in for the lower ones, they're not going to have employees. Nobody's going to want to work there. Why should they? And I urge option one. And the thing is, consumers will have more to spend. So businesses should do better, because more money will be put out into the community, because the lower the wages are, people spend all the money they have. So when people have more to spend, all the businesses will do better. And once again, I am so proud of my city for doing this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Patty. Satnam Gill and then Sylvia Vasquez. Welcome.
Good evening, everybody. I would like to request you to adopt staff's recommendation for the various reasons. Number one, the median household income in Santa Clara County is $102,000. When you go to the first option, it will become, if one member is working, little over $27,000. The average rent in the area, 10-mile radius, is over $2,900. We need to make the labor live here and spend here. Don't want to make labor to live on four-wheel, drive around for the job, and search where they can get more. That's the reason staff recommended, and I would request you to adopt the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Sylvia Vasquez and then Andrew Boone. Welcome.
Greetings, council members. Thank you so much for taking up this issue. My name is Sylvia Vasquez, and I work currently at VTA. I've been there for 20 years. My current position is a management analyst, which I'm proud of, and I'm also proud of the fact that the VTA chapter asked me secretary, and I'm also a delegate on the South Bay Labor Council. I'm also here because I am a lifelong resident here in the South Bay. Went to Santa Clara Unified District Schools, so Santa Clara is very dear to my heart. Unfortunately, as you know, the high cost of living here has actually forced me to take up a second job. So I serve part-time, and I serve at a restaurant over at the Rivermark Plaza. I have been there 13 years, and I love my job. I love what I do, and I'm very proud of what I do. I have witnessed over those 13-year spans the staffing issues, and I blame the minimum wage, the gap and the differences that are in the cities. There is staffing issues, there is high turnover. My manager has spent hundreds of dollars placing ads, trying to find viable candidates that will remain at the restaurant. So not only has she spent that much money, but also the amount of money that goes into training, only to lose them in a few months' time because they find better employment or higher wages at another location. They could go a mile down and earn $1 more. So I'm urging you to please take those kind of considerations, because people like my manager want the increase. That way they can have employees stick around. And so I thank you for your time for this issue.
Thank you. Andrew Boone and then Dee Dee Coast. Welcome.
Good evening, council members. My name is Andrew Boone. I live in East Palo Alto, and I very strongly support the staff's recommendation to raise the minimum wage to $15 per hour by 2019. I think that that's actually too low, too late. Other cities in the county over a year ago decided to raise minimum wage to $15 per hour. Cupertino, Los Altos, Palo Alto, and Mountain View was really the city that started it. And as someone who lives here locally, I prefer to spend money in Mountain View rather than the other cities, because Mountain View's a leader. Mountain View did it first. Mountain View wasn't afraid to say people deserve better. People deserve a living wage. And I think Santa Clara is behind. I think it's better to raise the minimum wage tonight than not do it, but you should have done it earlier. You should have been on the ball and followed the Cities Association recommendation when they made the recommendation, not a year later. Why are we still talking about it? We should already have the wage being more than $15 per hour here in Santa Clara. The living wage, as decided by the County of Santa Clara, meaning a wage that's decent enough for people to live a decent life, is already $19 per hour. So by setting the minimum wage equal to $15 per hour, you're saying that it's okay for people to be paid less than what's needed to live here, less than what's needed to live a decent life. That's shameful, and I think that you should consider raising the minimum wage to the living wage in Santa Clara County, which is currently $19 per hour. Anything less is saying it's okay for people to live in poverty, and it's not okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, if we could not react. Dee Dee Coast, and then Howard Gibbons.
Good evening,
Welcome.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Manager, and Council.
Dee Dee, would you like to pull the microphone down?
Yes.
Thank
A little
you, so
better?
we can hear you. Thank you.
I'm here tonight I'm in support of the South Bay Labor Council. I work directly with them, but I'm also a former resident of Santa Clara. And it's coincidental tonight that the Pal Gal softball girls were here because I'm also a former coach and manager for many years here. And they represent exactly what I was going to say to you all tonight. Back when Rudy Vera and his wife Rita helped to start Pal Gals, and we all remember those days, Wilson's Bakery was our version of Starbucks. We went there for Danish and coffee before we went to work. Things are not like that anymore. But one of the things that Rudy taught us all was to play fair. And everybody had a chance. Everyone played the game and you played fair. Santa Clara is no longer in that game. And I'm asking Santa Clara to step up and do the right thing tonight for our employees here, our workers here, our kids here. You saw these young ladies tonight, and having coached many of them years ago, I can tell you it doesn't matter if their parents were .comers, high-tech workers, motel workers, or on welfare. I coached them all. Those kids put on that uniform, and to them, they were equal. They were fair. And in your own guidelines, under number 2, it says treat everyone equitably and respectfully. I'm asking you to do that with the workers of the city of Santa Clara tonight. No phase-in, no more time delays. Do the right thing for your workers here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your time volunteering as a coach for our young people. That's a tough job. Howard.
Hello, brings me in. You're talking about what raising the minimum wage does. At my level, I buy hot dogs. Since December of last year, it went up 30 cents a pound. Beginning of June, I got hit with a 50 cents a pound. So I asked the guy at the supplier, what happened? He goes, wages, man, we're paying more. So yeah, there is a offset that even the guys, the pizza guy, I'm sure he's paying for more for his supplies. Big hits on the meats and stuff. You can raise, it'd be easier if you just go to the minimum wage and add a 0 to it. Everybody can make, I don't know, what's minimum wage, 10 bucks an hour? Let's just make it $100 an hour. Yeah. You won't mind paying $45 for a hot dog. You won't mind paying a $5,000 PG&E bill. When you raise these prices, it raises the price of doing everything. Everybody goes up. So instead of raising the price, let's go after the problem. When I was a kid, I had a job before I got out of high school at a gas station. I go into a gas station now, the guy's 60 years old. I go to a Taco Bell, the lady is 46 years old. It used to be the person who was 22 years old was the manager. You had 17, 18-year-old kids working the Foster Freeze, the dairy, but we have grown adults at those jobs now. That's where the problem is. Our education system is failing us so bad that you can raise the prices all you want. You can take it to a $80, $100 an hour job, but the problem is still there. We need to get the adults into higher paying jobs, not the low paid jobs. Let the kids do those.
Thank you, Howard.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alex Nunez and Megan Fraley. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Alex Nunez. I'm Vice President for the Peninsula Young Democrats, covering northern Santa Clara County. And yeah, I'm definitely here to urge you guys to pass option 1 for a $15 minimum wage in 2019. Many years ago, I was working a few minimum wage jobs. I remember I did fast food and also retail. And for me, as a young person, I know that those jobs were mainly meant to gather some funds to have fun, for prom, things like that. But just like someone else alluded to earlier, I'm not quite sure who it was, or I think it might have been one of you guys, you were asking about whether or not these minimum wage jobs were not even necessarily these kind of part-time gigs anymore, rather these full-time career tracks. And I think that what has happened, especially here in Santa Clara County, with the rate of home displacement and the uneven distribution of wage increases towards the higher income brackets, a lot of these minimum wage jobs are actually jobs that are going to the main wage earners for households. And so when we're talking about a situation where $10, $12 is all that people are going to take home, families really depend on that. And children go to school here, and when people get displaced, there's really a lot of uprooting for people's livelihoods that takes place. And we all know that $15 really at this point in our economic development still isn't enough, but I do urge the City Council here to do something to ameliorate the situation for many families here in Santa Clara County, and Santa Clara, the city actually. So yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Megan, and then Scott Lane after that. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Council. My name is Megan Freely. I'm with the Raise the Wage South Bay and Peninsula Coalition, and I've been here before and seen you all taking action along the way. And actually want to thank you. I know that we're at the end of the road here in Silicon Valley, but Santa Clara really was also one of the first. And I live in Mountain View, and in our journey in Mountain View and Sunnyvale across the region, Santa Clara was a city that as we talked to other cities, we could say, look, this is a council that's taking it seriously, that actually did take action and pass the wage to 11 while they tried to make sure that they were consistent with the region. So actually it's been very important for us in this movement to have fair wages throughout Silicon Valley, that the leadership that Santa Clara Council took was taken. So I'm here with many others asking that council will pass to print. I just learned that expression from staff tonight, but pass to print so that the next reading on August 22nd can be the second reading, and we can then say 95% of the minimum wage workers in Santa Clara County will be covered by a $15 minimum wage by 2019. Which would be a beautiful thing. And I'd have a lot less council meetings to go to. So I would appreciate it.
Oh, we like you coming back.
I'll come back for something, just to say thank you. Okay, I will do that for sure. I wanted to also share a story for, anytime anything is a change, it's especially, when it comes to business, it can be scary. And I wanted to share my Friday night of trying to go to a restaurant in Mountain View and not make a reservation. So walked up to Sakun, 45-minute wait. Okay, got on the list. I went to Vaso Azzurro, 45-minute wait. Finally ended up at the Hot Pot restaurant, which was an hour wait, but at that point, we'd walked all the way down. So I would ask no exemptions, no phase-ins. It's just not needed. There's no research to support doing so. And just thank you and thank staff for all of your hard work.
There's a great pizza parlor on Stevens Creek Boulevard in Santa Clara. Not much of a wait. Okay, thank you. Scott Lane and then Bob Emmett.
Good evening, Council. I don't want to say how many years ago I lived and worked in Australia, but back then they were making $13 minimum wage in Australia, couple of decades ago. Frankly, yeah, 15 is what we should do, but for everyone to know, everyone here seems to be supporting police officers. A police officer recruit, no experience, not even gone through boot camp, $40 to $52 an hour. We all support the police, so why aren't we supporting higher wages? Productivity stats have shown that if productivity and inflation were taken into account, the minimum wage, various studies have shown $22 to $24 an hour. There's been only one article, which was heavily biased, that said the Seattle experiment with their $15 an hour actually hurt the restaurants. If anything, it's actually helped them. We have certain restaurants that actually proudly proclaim, I won't say the name of this, but it's in Campbell, and actually they have locations in multiple cities, and every city has a different wage. What a pain that's got to be, right? Cashiers, $14 to $15 an hour. Dishwashers, $14 to $15 an hour. Bussers, $14 to $15. Food prep, $18 to $19. Lane cooks, $20 to $21. That's today. They proudly place it in the window. It's this big. Many times we talked about, this is just one issue. Housing and transportation nationally is 44% of low-income workers. It's 54% in the Valley. By 2040, it's going to go to 69%, even when we add all that we're trying to do with the MTC. So I know someone here has talked about a virtuous circle, and that certainly was a Forbes article, I believe. But the bottom line is we've been pushing for the city to focus on jobs, manufacturing, everything, pride in Santa Clara, made in Santa Clara, shop in Santa Clara. If we do this, we can promote the businesses. I'm really shocked the Chamber isn't here to push this. Chamber probably would have been against it, but I think they're losing the bigger picture. It's a competitive marketplace, and let's make sure the Santa Clara businesses can win. Let's push this tonight, but really let's go what we should be going for. There's other issues across the country that are saying 20 by 2020, and that's certainly what it is. And others are going by 25 in 2020, and those would be for medical professionals, et cetera. Thank you.
Bob Emmett. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Bob Emmett, and I'm a security officer at Broadcom. The cost of living is so high that many of us are forced to work 2 and 3 jobs to make ends meet. I know many families that have several generations living together in one apartment, forced to sleep several to a room, and I've seen this, mattresses on the living room floors. We know that Google, Adobe, and others are coming into the area, and the cost of housing will spike again and inevitably reach a price so high it will be impossible for many of us to live here. I am here to speak in favor of increasing the minimum wage without restrictions and including all workers. Exemptions are often proposed in order to mitigate the negative impacts of a wage increase. But we have a study here that looked at what happens when no exemptions and showed that massive positive impacts. We don't need exemptions. Adding in exemptions takes us into unknown territory. This UC Berkeley study showed that employers would overwhelmingly be able to absorb costs without decreasing staff or increasing prices. Exemptions are not necessary. So I also urge you to adopt this without the option to delay implementation in the event of a recession, as that would prolong and make worse the reception, since it would take money out of the hands of those who spend it the quickest. I encourage you to maximize this opportunity to raise the wage for the sake of all families and working people in our valley. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? City Clerk, are there any other cards? Please come forward if you'd like to speak. Good evening.
Hi, Teresa Seltzer. I'd like the City Council to also consider subsidizing businesses that do not pay a living wage and the cost that the city will then take on in social services, in the school system, and other ways of supporting these families, because I think that should be considered when you're looking at the overall impact.
Thank you, Teresa. Anyone else? Please come forward. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. I'm going to translate for Blanca.
You want to pull it down?
Yeah.
Hello.
Hola, buenas noches. Mi nombre es Blanca Rosell. Tengo varios años trabajando en Santa Clara en un Carlos Jr., lo cual estamos pidiéndoles que si nos hacen eso de subir un poco más el sueldo, ganamos muy poquito. En mi trabajo, mis compañeros están saliendo de trabajar porque dicen que ganan muy poco. Nosotros, los que nos quedamos, tenemos que trabajar lo doble de 2 personas o 3 porque no hay personal suficiente para atender todo el restaurante. Se van porque en San José... Sorry.
Gracias,
I-
gracias.
No, she wants to say more, but I wanted to translate because she's saying she's been working in Santa Clara, in the city of Santa Clara for many years, and she sees that around in other cities they are paying more, so a lot of people don't want to work in this city anymore, and so she's been working in Carl's Jr. They are always short on people because people says in Mountain View, Sunnyvale, they are paying $13, and also in San Jose. So she is asking as a favor to please pass the minimum wage to go up. Y también porque las rentas están subiendo demasiado. Pagamos mucho de renta. Yo tengo que trabajar en 2 trabajos, que es Carlos Jr. y un Burger King en Mountain View. En Mountain View yo gano $13, que es lo que están pagando allá. Y aquí en Santa Clara yo gano $11.75. Entonces tengo que trabajar en los 2 y trabajar 70 horas a la semana para poder pagar la renta, el teléfono, la luz y lo que necesitamos. Okay, she said that she works in 2 places in Mountain View and Sunnyvale, and she has to work 70 hours a week, and just to pay rent and pay the bills. So she's asking to approve the minimum wage to go up. Ya se acabó el tiempo. Yeah. Gracias. Pues thank you very much y buena suerte.
Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Please come forward. Abby.
Hi there. I'd like to ask you to support this and to not have any kind of break-in periods or delays. You recently gave yourselves a wage increase because you didn't find yourselves on par, and you had it take effect quickly. The people here are asking for that to take effect because they're not on par, and they'd like that to take effect quickly also. So I think what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So please do the same thing for them that you did for yourselves. So please don't roll it in slowly. Just do it. Offer them and give them the same way. If you believe in doing what's right, do it now. Don't hesitate. Don't put it off. Just do it. Thank you.
Just for clarification purposes, we didn't give ourselves a raise. It was a charter change. It was a vote of the citizens of Santa Clara. So that's for clarification. Go ahead.
Yes, Stephen Hazel, you guys got a difficult job. It's like Donald Trump when he did the Taj Mahal in Vegas. Remember, he went under because it's a great project, but he was beholden by the person at the top, George H.W. Bush. See, it's like everything else.
If we could keep it down, please, so we can get through this.
Yeah, when have we had a president? When was the last time we had a president really get the economy rolling? Last time I remember it was Clinton, actually. You know, that's the first time I was doing furniture. Went into San Francisco .com craze. It was great, huh? First time ever. No other president until now. We finally got one. You Democrats got to get on board here and get focused here because Trump's the guy. You want a business guy? You want things rolling for both the wage earner and the employee? The employer? The way to go is it starts at the top. Because you can forget about everything. $12, $13, $14, $15, you know what I mean? Because if things aren't rolling at the top, they don't got business going, forget it. Because look at Bush, drove us on the verge of depression. What date was that? That was March 9th of 2008. It was Jeb Bush's birthday. The irony of that one. Look at it, the actual date. The bottom out was March 9th, 2008. Look what he did to the economy. It's unbelievable. And they even his son was even going to be, or his brother was even going to be considered as being the next president. It's unbelievable, huh? That family. You know, I'm an independent. I'm not a Republican or a Democrat, but I can see where, give Clinton credit. He rattled his cage first when he knocked off H.W. Bush when he tried to get the second term. It didn't happen. But then guess what? Within a month or so, we got hit with a tower. I wonder why. Right? And right before Gore announced his run for president, guess what? John was killed. I wonder why. He didn't want him to be vice president. Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Guess what else I know?
Thank you. Good evening.
Hassam Hagag here. I actually disagree with staff's recommendation. They recommend to go to $13 in 2018 and $15 in 2019. And the reason I disagree with staff's recommendation is I think we should do better. I really think we should do better. We should be going to $15 an hour in 2018 right away. And
If we
should
could keep it
increase
down, please.
$1 a year until we reach $20 an hour and then adjust by inflation. That's what Santa Clara should do. Santa Clara should lead the way. This is the center of what's possible. We are the best city in the Bay Area, but we don't act like it. And for anybody who wants to go slower, I challenge anybody who wants to go slower, even by the staff recommendation, to try to live off of $11.10 an hour, or even $13 an hour. And, you know, myself included, we all of us who are making more than the minimum wage need to check our privilege. We need to do what's right, and we need to be bold, and we need to do it fast, and go above and beyond what the state law mandates. These are the people that feed us. These are the people that clean after us. These are the people that sell us the materialistic things that we buy for our enjoyment. And so, you know, how arrogant could we be to not help them, and to do it sincerely and to do it fast? And I do want to say in the last 30 seconds that I have is that I was recently elected as an Assembly District Delegate for our district as part of the California Democratic Party. And I know council offices are nonpartisan. But for those of you who are sitting up there who are part of the Democratic Party, and some of you who may hold leadership as part of the Democratic Party, I hope you read the Democratic Party, California Democratic Party platform, because it actually says that we should be going above $15 an hour. So I really advise you to go faster than what staff recommendation is asking you to do.
Thank you, Hassam. Would anyone else like to speak? So please come forward. Okay, seeing none, Councilmember Vice Mayor Caserta.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I appreciate it. I'll make some comments into a motion. You know, I really was proud of this council. A year and a half ago, we had the highest wage in the county, just a year and a half ago. And now we're in the bottom third. I thought we took a very sober decision not to rush this, but to be methodical and reach out to stakeholders. I applaud staff in the chamber for that. And a lot of us do a lot of great things in our day jobs. And my day job, a lot of you know, I'm an economics and government teacher, so I do this for a living. And just today at Foothill College, 42% of my students could not buy the $98 book. 42% of them could not buy the $98 book. So kind of my econ hat, we play two roles in this economy. We're sellers of our labor, so we're workers. Most of us, whether we were 18 or 68 years old, when we get a raise, what do we feel? We feel a boost of morale, which will lead us to more productivity, and will give us more wage. And whether we like this or not, only 0.2%, 0.2% of people making less than $40,000 a year invest in like real estate or the stock market. So these earners that get more money, what are they going to do? They're going to play their second role. With their capital, their dollars, they will spend it. They will buy more goods and services. So if you buy more goods and services, our small businesses will have more consumers. If they have more consumers, they're more likely to bring in more revenue. If they bring in more revenue, they will pay more taxes. That will go to rebuilding our roads, our infrastructure like schools and bridges. So from a worker standpoint, you're more productive. You're going to spend more of your money. Businesses are going to sell more of their services and even hire more workers. I think that's a win for everyone in the economy. But also, I want to really thank people like Kirk that talked today. I have no doubt at all, if we raise the minimum wage, that when I go there and I get my cannolis, it'll be 25 cents more. I'm okay with that. When I go to Fiorella's and get my favorite dish, chicken piccata, I'm okay paying $2 more for that. And tomorrow when I go to City Lights and get my soup, whatever the soup of the day is, and my chicken melt sandwich, I'm okay with paying $1 more because we're a community and we're supposed to invest in each other. And all of us here a year and a half ago when we passed this motion said we should also reach out to the county cities association and talk to other cities. And their recommendation is clear as day. And I agree with some of you. I would love to go to higher than $15 an hour, but I want unanimous support here tonight. I want to take a moderate, fair approach. We were leaders with the minimum wage before. We were the first city in the county to pass a worker retention ordinance. And leadership of some of my council members, we are now leading also with the Nexus study in affordable housing. So this is a win-win for everyone. This clearly will give these workers, and let's keep it real, the minimum wage is not a destination wage, but it's a reality wage for people. You make $15 an hour times 2, you make $30,000 a year. Councilmember O'Neill is right. That is not a livable wage. So my motion is, for all of these reasons, to support staff's recommendation, and just by consensus, we talked about before that places that we control, like Levi Stadium, like our city places, I really hope that by the end of September, and this is by consensus, that we have a study session on what we can do in public facilities in our city to pass a livable wage. So my motion is this clearly, to support staff's recommendation and by consensus to have a study session on livable wage by the end of September. That's my motion.
Second.
Councilmember Mahan.
Thank you. You know, I'm largely in favor of laissez-faire policies when it comes to government interfering with business. I've run a small business myself for 37 years, and I've had as many as 5 employees. And I know that employees are the largest expense of service businesses. Probably employer taxes come next, and let us not forget that when wages go up, employer taxes are going to go up because they are a percentage of the wages. So you might think that on principle I would be against this ordinance, but I'm not. If government never interfered with business, we would have no child labor laws. We would have no collective bargaining. We would have no health care for employees, no pension plans, no working condition mandates for safe and clean workplaces. And I've learned that when worker satisfaction and productivity is encouraged in direct proportion to their earnings. So there is a time and place for government to take a stand, for us to take a stand, and make policies that help our labor force. Employers are profit-driven, as they should be. If you're not making a profit, you're not really in business. But profit on the backs of labor is unconscionable. The minimum wage is not a living wage. We know that. But at least we can make it a decent wage. A minimum wage job is certainly can be a step on the path to a career job, to a career wage, to a living wage. You know, my son started working in restaurants when he was still going to school part-time, making a minimum wage. And now he's working as a line chef in a 5-star restaurant in Maui, and he's supporting himself. So you can work from minimum wage into a job that's going to support yourself and your family as time goes on. My first job was a minimum wage job, and I'm embarrassed to say that the minimum wage at the time was $1.75, which just shows how old I am. But gas was 29 cents a gallon, so it was all in proportion. I want to thank Dominic Caserta for taking the strong lead on this initiative. And it's not the first time he's done this. He took the lead on our first minimum wage job, which put Santa Clara first, and now we're last, so I'm hoping here tonight that we can change that. But Dominic is truly a representative of the people. We saw 71% of Santa Clarans support the concept of increasing our minimum wage. And if we don't represent the majority of our Santa Clarans, then who do we work for? Who do we listen to, if not to them? The overwhelming majority of our people. Our business community had input, and they will learn to live with this, just as they did the last time. It's time Santa Clara became a leader on this issue, not a follower, not a lagger. We have council members on this dais who have been supported by our labor. We, have received the benefit of our workers who have worked for us. Now it's time for us to work for them.
Okay, Councilmember Kolstad, did you want to speak? You're off. Okay, Councilmember Watanabe.
Thank you, Mayor. I know I just wanted to address what I had mentioned before, and that regards the SOAR phase-in for small businesses with less than 25 employees. It is too bad that there aren't any small business representatives here tonight to talk about this issue. I mean, I am concerned, how this could possibly impact them. It's not to say that I don't support option 1 100%. I do. However, there will be an impact on other businesses, and I just wish that, the Chamber of Commerce, obviously, in their survey, based on the responses that came back, I think there were only three business owners that did respond back, but we don't have any information as to what they had to say about it. So, based on that, all I can just offer is that I support this. I totally understand. I know there are a lot of young people that are benefiting, that will benefit, that to help their families, help themselves. I see it now. I hear it, and I know that this is it's very important. I just. I just hope that the small businesses won't be impacted, that they will thrive as a result of the higher increase, and just go from there. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember O'Neill.
Thank you. I just wanted to make a few comments. The wages, we've talked about the three-legged stool. And as I brought up some issues about housing and transportation, and others did too, that we can't just look at this problem as a problem of wages. Obviously, that's the first thing. We've got to, and I hope that everybody here will just as vigorously support improving our housing infrastructure and making sure that people don't have to spend such a large percentage of their income to get to their jobs. I mean, that's one of the major problems that folks have. So when you pile that on top of relatively low wages, a wage that may be acceptable in a state such as Nebraska or whatever, that same wage obviously is not going to make it here. But we have to keep looking at solving those other two problems, which is housing and transportation, as well as doing whatever we can to support fair wages. And I agree, I also want to echo that. I think we all have to remember to thank the lower wage earners in our communities, whether we see them when they come in to clean our buildings at night or whether they're serving our meals, because they do make the lifestyle of those who, I myself used to say, how many high-tech workers does it take to screw in a light bulb? And I said, that's not the question. The question is how many low-wage earners does it take to support the lifestyle of a high-tech worker? And so I think we need to be cognizant of that and grateful for the labor that makes some of us have had an easier lifestyle. And I think we also have to talk to those who own small businesses in our community and say, we understand the stresses that you're under, and if you have to raise your prices to be able to pay a slightly better wage to your workers, that we will understand and we will support you, and we won't abandon you to go to the place where we can find the absolute cheapest price or a cheaper meal. Because otherwise, then we're not going to help our workers. So we have to all literally step up to the plate and put something in there to make sure that that economically everyone's going to do okay. We're not going to feel good if a year from now there have been people who have gone out of business, particularly the small businesses, if we haven't been willing to take, as Vice Mayor Caserta said, take a little bit more money out of our wallets when we go into their business establishment. And I also wanted to thank Teresa Sulzer for bringing up the point about social services. One of the things that I've been talking about for a long time, and obviously not very effectively, is that we do have a lot of service gaps here in Santa Clara. We're the only major city in this county that does not have a social services agency that's focused on providing services here. We have some church groups and some service clubs that are doing that, but we do not have an agency such as Sunnyvale Community Services or West Valley Community Services or whatever. We are partially served by an agency that's based in downtown San Jose. So I do think as a community, we need to look at that area of service gaps and making sure that our safety net is secure, and that because that's the other piece of that's what goes on top of the three-legged stool. Because when the folks who, if their car breaks down, then they are oftentimes not going to be able to make their rent payment that month, and so two legs of the stool are broken down, and then they can't get to their job. So I will be supporting the motion of the Vice Mayor, and thank him for his efforts on this.
Thank you. Councilmember Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. I will be supporting this motion, and I do agree with a lot of people in this room that it is not enough money. People, their quality of life is impacted. They are not making enough money. Their housing is crazy, and the 15 by 2019 should be a lot more, but Cities Association, I represent the city on that, and the 15 cities agreed that if we could do it regionally and get everyone to stay within this minimum wage of 15 by 2019 so that people aren't trying to go from city to city to city just to try to get that extra dollar. So maybe we need to really look at this as a living wage and not a minimum wage for people to survive in Silicon Valley. It is so expensive here, and when you take a look at some people that are working 2 and 3 and 4 jobs, it's just sad to even think about that. So I will be supporting Vice Mayor's motion, and hopefully we will look into what a living wage could possibly be in this valley. Thank you.
Thank you. Our efforts to increase the minimum wage speaks to who we are as a city. Santa Clara is known for big things like Levi's Stadium and Super Bowls and major companies like Intel and NVIDIA. But most people don't know that we're a working class city, and we're very proud of it. By increasing the minimum wage, we are doing something to improve the lives of the people that make our city work. These are the people that work in our restaurants, our hotels, our small businesses, our theme parks, who happen to be the largest employer of minimum wage workers in Santa Clara, Great America. They are the real Santa Clara. Increasing our minimum wage will make it easier for most families to pay rent, to buy food, to buy school uniforms and clothes, and breathe a little easier month to month. So I will be supporting the motion on the floor. City Manager, you have a question.
Mayor, I have a request, actually. If I could ask Vice Mayor Caserta, he, in his motion, requested that we come back in September for a discussion on living wage for city-owned facilities.
Yeah, I want that to be bifurcated from the minimum wage recommendation, but we've discussed many times, so I would like by the end of September.
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to just put on the table, like there are several things lined up for study sessions.
Okay.
Other
When's
issues.
the earliest we can
Yeah,
do
so
it?
within this calendar year, we'll definitely come back. Also, to gather the whole council for study sessions. Sometimes it doesn't work.
We have about 7 or 8 that are lined up.
Yeah, there are several items that need to be
amazing.
discussed. So I'm requesting that we be allowed to come back, in this calendar year as opposed to in September.
So the motion on the floor then is just for the minimum wage, option 1. City Attorney, is this a pass to print now vote, or does it have to be a public hearing for that? Is this a pass to print? Okay. So pass to print, option 1.
Yes.
Lights on the motion? And that passes unanimously. Thank you. And the other one, is the other one by consensus? By consensus? Okay, the other's by consensus. Thank you very much. We're going to take a 7-minute break, if that's okay. Thank you.